5 Requirements to Becoming a Great English Teacher. Written by Deshaun Johnson. Read by Deshaun Johnson. When compared to STEM, teaching English gets such a bad rap. The weirdest conundrum is how reading and writing is labeled as a low-level trade, while many American students cannot execute these basic functions at an advanced level. And if you are expertly skilled at these things, it could only suggest one thing: you suck at STEM. It appears society foolishly makes the assumption reading and writing, everyone can do it. When college students change their majors from a STEM-based curriculum to English, the switch is usually met with a "you poor baby" attitude. "Oh, you're an English major now. I'm sorry, insert subjectively difficult STEM major here. Must have been too hard for you." It's because of this misinformed, stereotypical attitude that the American people continues producing generations that, ironically, can't excel in STEM because they simply suck at reading and writing. Reading and writing is the foundation to the innovator house being built and not just another brick. English teachers necessary. The formula of STEM obsession plus misinformation positively equals more illiterate students. This equation reflects dynamically in the consensual perception school districts have about English teachers through pay treatment. In some school districts, they offer stipends ranging from $3,000 to $6,000 to people who teach science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Yet, how much do they offer English teachers? Zilch. $0. Did I even have to write this? Not even at least a $500 bonus. You can go to any school district website and pull their salary information, usually through an employment link. I'm not going to name names, but examine this clipping of how one anonymous district entices and encourages STEM teachers. Five requirements to becoming a great English teacher. Not one incentive for English teachers for students who do not have a STEM problem, but a literacy problem. As a Texas teacher, I have witnessed firsthand that the biggest hurdle districts have to leap over is advancing their students in the areas of reading and writing, as it hinders performance in the other subject areas. Let's pretend as if this scenario is a video game, and not just any video game, a mobile app video game. Why? Because the concept of unlocking is more prevalent and blatant in these games. Designing this based on my argument, if reading and writing is the key to higher performance in other subjects, then unlocking levels will look like this. So the question now is, how can English teachers become more effective to give students the advanced reading and writing abilities necessary so as not an obstacle blocking their way elsewhere? Without further ado, let's look at 5 requirements. Number 1, being a student yourself. As teachers, we should be constantly learning. That's the general philosophy gaining popularity today to reinvent the American teacher. However, it's not really specified what we should be learning. I'm going to be brave and offer that the learning not be isolated to mandatory professional developments. When I say be a student yourself, I am referring to the commitment of studying and practicing your own subject craft. For example, as an English teacher, I'm an avid reader, constantly learning from the writing styles of other fiction and nonfiction authors, intertwining them into my own. I personally feel it's a crime to teach writing if I'm not producing written content myself in order to articulate the passion and craft when teaching students. There's a stark difference between teaching and facilitating. I could pull anyone off the street, give them a script, set of directions on how to teach, insert anything here, to a group of people, and voila, you got yourself what appears to be a classroom. Anyone can facilitate any activity to completion or run the clock down given a template to do so. However, teaching is a spiritual art form connecting content to a human in the most intimate way possible. Through teaching, personalities connect so understanding of a skill can be obtained much easier. Number 2, teach skills. When I mention skills for reading and language arts, I'm actually referring to summarizing, analyzing, inferring, using context clues, and so on. Teachers who are in early childhood education are actually teaching students how to read using skills rather than generically teaching them how to read. Usually elementary teachers are teaching kids phonics, letter sounds, how to blend letter sounds, sight words, and early grammar, which are all reading skills. Let me differentiate between these skills and just reading. At night, I love to read to my children. I usually have my children participate in the reading by having them simply repeat the words I just read. This is what I mean by just reading. Sure, they're repeating the words and getting exposure to new vocabulary. However, they have yet to understand the underlying why behind the text. I engage my children by asking them questions about the text, followed with an explanation of certain story elements. I'm usually reading fiction to them. This is when the learning really happens for my own kids. They oftentimes gain skills for reading unknowingly in the beginning. Teach reading skills, not reading. For when they learn skills, they become better readers. Number 3, find a mentor. My first year teaching high school English to freshmen was a hit and miss experience. I accept personal responsibilities for my shortcomings, but my relationship with my mentor teacher was a strained one. I define strength as almost non-existent. When I wasn't doing certain things in my class, I was accused of being irresponsible for not taking initiative, seeking help from my mentor. As a freshman teacher teaching freshmen, I personally made the mistake of thinking my mentor would be the one to check in with me and not the other way around. Oh well, you don't know what you don't know. If you're in a similar situation, I suggest learning from my experience, taking initiative to find a mentor, and asking unlimited questions. In our internet age, a mentor does not have to be physically present. You can find millions of great teachers online in your subject field who are outstanding. Reach out via social media, listen to a teacher podcast interviewing top leading professionals, watch YouTube videos, etc. Do this whether you're a noob or a seasoned vet. This goes back to requirement number 1, assume the role of being a student first, teacher second. Number 4, seek feedback from teachers and students. When getting feedback about your teaching style, instructional delivery, lesson for the day, etc., it's imperative that we ask specific questions, not the generic, how did I do today? When seeking criticism from a teacher, asking them open-ended, detail-inviting questions such as, can you describe how students responded to my warm-up at the beginning of class? Or, what are your thoughts about my lecture activity follow-through lesson structure? Are pretty ideal to really gain insight on how did I do today? When gaining it from a student, you really, and I mean really, have to identify a student that is mature and someone you feel will seriously speak about how they are learning from you. Those students that randomly claim you're boring or purposely troll for the sole intent of tearing you down do not qualify. I'm recommending kids that will provide evidence and examples supporting their argument as any professional should. This teaches the student how to effectively provide quality input that will serve improving and developing others rather than be a troll and emotionally drain others for the empty sake of doing it. You may even need to make that lesson on its own, how to provide quality feedback and not become a troll. Number 5, cross-integrate other subjects into your class often. This 5th and final piece is a critical one to this article. Students will best see how reading and writing serve and support other subjects firsthand when they are integrated in sequence into your instruction. A simple example is having students solve a word problem that's just that, a word problem. No visible standard form, just straight letters and words. Not only are students engaged in this for its original mathematical intent, but this can easily be a literary exercise discussing how the word problem is structured, the definition behind certain math terminology, the history behind the problem, and so on. Cross-integration also provides support to other teachers and is great for professional collaboration among your colleagues. This kind of exposure will allow students to see and understand how one subject affects another. Here's a bonus. Gather some tech tools, learn them, and master them. Google Classroom, Kahoot!, Edpuzzle, Nearpod, and Quizzes are the learning tools I use over and over and over and over again. In the past 4 years, I've obtained high familiarity with each tool, allowing me to provide instruction in more creative and advanced methods. I only reference these 5 because the focus isn't on the tools themselves, but the few tools I actually use. School districts are diagnosed with having shiny object syndrome, possessing an insatiable appetite to purchase every new thing that claims this is going to save our students. Our jobs as teachers is to sift through the things that do not work, keeping those that do. In terms of my technology tool bag, these are my hammers that help me nail each lesson home. In closing, teaching of its own merit is a rich and rewarding thing to do. Unfortunately, teaching English is the negligent, ugly, red-headed stepchild exiled outside the STEM family. Reading and writing being identified as lower skills compared to its peers has almost rendered them irrelevant. I pray and hope executing these requirements can raise its relevance. As always, links in the description below. Make sure to hit that show more button and check out my other websites as well as my social media channels.